iHeartRadio app.
Spending 2 hours staring at the back of someone's bumper isn't the best way to end your day. So Jack in the Box is giving you a bonus with their new Bonus Jack Combo. Fries, a drink, and a burger with your choice of 1, 2, or 3 patties, starting at just $4.49. Get so much more.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The LA Sparks are playing like one of the best teams in the WNBA. They beat the Indiana Fever Tuesday night 100-91 for their 7th win in the last 8 games. Kelsey Plum had 25 points and 11 assists. Rickea Jackson also dropped 25 points. The Sparks are now just 2 games below 500 at 13-15. On July 3rd, they were 5-13 and showing no signs of being a playoff contender. The Sparks are at home Thursday night against the Connecticut Sun. The Dodgers beat St. Louis 12-6. Max Muncy and Teoscar Hernandez each had 4 RBIs. The Angels lost to Tampa Bay 7-3. Tampa Bay scored all 7 of their runs in the 4th inning. An oldie but goodie is coming back to the Chargers. Wide receiver Keenan Allen, who played his first 11 seasons with the Chargers, re-signed with the team for a 1-year deal. The 33-year-old Allen played last season with the Chicago Bears. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
At KBLA Talk 1580, we aim to foster enlightening, sustainable, restorative dialogue, and we welcome unapologetically progressive viewpoints that empower fellow citizens. We are now accepting submissions for KBLA Talk 1580 guest editorials like this one.
With the KBLA Talk 1580 guest editorial, I'm Martin Gordon, chair of the Pasadena Community Coalition. Recently, I listened to a Tavis Smiley show conversation with James Farr. James said something that caught me off guard. Black Altadena is gone. My community is being murdered. I said murdered.
All you have to do is go to our website homepage at KBLA1580.com and click on the icon that says KBLA Guest Editorials to learn more about our editorial standards and content submission guidelines. As long as the topic aligns with our mission, we are happy to review your submission and consider it for broadcast. We can't make any promises, but we want to amplify progressive perspectives that are community-focused and solution-oriented. So, go to KBLA1580.com right now to download all the information you need about our guest editorials. At KBLA Talk 1580, we've got your black.
Live from historic Leimert Park in Los Angeles, California, I'm Tavis Smiley, and I'm so glad to see you and me back in stride again. Before we get started with today's show, let me invite you to follow me on Facebook and Instagram at The Real Tavis Smiley, and get updates on X, that's formerly Twitter, at Tavis Smiley. By the way, should you miss any part of today's program or want to catch up on previous shows, you can always visit thetavismiley.show.com. That's thetavismiley.show.com, or wherever you get your podcast, and listen to the Tavis Smiley podcast version of this live program at your leisure. Another great show on tap for you today. In our second hour, 2 conversations. Up first, we'll talk with U.S. Civil Rights Commissioner Mondaire Jones and get his reflections on the 60th anniversary of the Voting Rights Act. And we'll talk about the fate of the John R. Lewis Voting Rights Advancement Act, which Mondaire Jones co-sponsored, in fact, when he served in Congress. On the B side of our tour, a conversation with Michael Steele, former chair of the RNC, the Republican National Committee, and now co-host, as you know, of the Weeknight on MSNBC, anxious to get Michael's thoughts on the myriad ways Republicans are threatening voting rights as we presently know them. In our third hour, a cross-generational conversation with Willa Robinson, founder of the historic Willa's Books in Kansas City, and Ryan Sorrell, founder of the Kansas City Defender. KC's oldest black bookstore is closing, sadly, not unlike many other black bookstores in this country. Willa's Bookstore is closing down, but the mission continues. We'll talk about it, again, in a cross-generational dialogue in our third and final hour. You don't want to miss that. But in this first hour, two more guests will be joined later in this hour by Rodericka Applewhaite, former director of black media in the Biden White House. But we commence today's show in conversation with our regular contributor, author, towering public intellectual, UCLA professor, Marcus Anthony Hunter, who joins us live in studio. Marcus, how are you, sir?
I'm blessed out in this moment.
I love it. I love it. Blessed out. I'll take that, man. I'll take that. So there's a lot to talk about. I'm glad I've got Marcus for the hour. And again, we'll be joined by Rodericka Applewhaite a little later in this hour. So this thing in Texas is heating up. You knew it was just a matter of time before Donald Trump got a piece of this, got involved in this in some shape, way, or form. So here's Donald Trump. Come on, Miles. Where we at? Okay. I thought he had this clip teed. Yeah, I don't want to start out that way today. Anyway, let me tell you what you're about to hear whenever we get it ready for you. Donald Trump was asking in the press conference yesterday about this Texas situation, and you all know that he sent military troops out to California, specifically to L.A., when we did not ask for them or did not need them. So now we're talking about the FBI. Yeah, the FBI getting involved in Texas. Take a listen.
Is asking for your help to force Democrats back to the state and hold them accountable. Do you want the federal government and the FBI to help locate and arrest these Texas Democrats who have left the state?
Well, I think they've abandoned the state. Nobody's seen anything like it, even though they've done it twice before. And in a certain way, it almost looks like they've abandoned the state. It looks very bad. Yeah, go ahead, please.
Should the FBI get involved? Should the FBI get involved?
Well, they may have to. No, I know they want them back. Not only the Attorney General, the governor wants them back. If you look, I mean, the governor of Texas is demanding they come back. So a lot of people are demanding they come back. You can't just sit it out. You have to go back. You have to fight it out. That's what elections are all about.
So let me take that latter point, Marcus, Anthony Hunter. Donald Trump says you have to fight it out. That is what elections are all about. As I often say, a broken clock is right twice a day. I understand exactly what Democrats are doing in Texas and why they don't want this quorum, why they don't want Republicans to steal up to as many as 5 additional seats. But it is also true that to the victor goes the spoils. And I've been watching this for the last few days, asking what kind of example this is setting, particularly for Democrats writ large in this moment. Is the answer to run away? Is the answer to disappear? At some point, you got to go home anyway. You're going to have to address this one way or the other, and Donald Trump is right. There you go. I said it. He is right in this instance. Elections do have consequences. So Democrats have to fight back. I'm just not sure that running is the answer. I don't want to get too deep into the weeds. What's this say to our kids? I mean there are all kind of ways we can discuss this about the messaging on Democrats abandoning the state, running away, rather than again engaging this fight in some other creative ways. But again, I repeat one last time: Donald Trump is right. Elections have consequences. You show up and you fight it out. Am I wrong?
There's a ancient African proverb that will emphasize what you said. It often goes, you can outrun what is chasing you, but you cannot outrun what is inside of you. And so part of what that means in this case is you can outrun the Republicans that are trying to chase you down into the gerrymandering conversation, but you cannot outrun your duty to the people who elected you. Because ultimately, when we think about the purpose and functions of elections, which is why the fight principle is right, is if you lose, you are electing people who will fight on your behalf until you're back in the majority. And so part of what's happening in general, I think, across the Democratic Party is there is no strategy. There is no art of war going on. You know, shout out to Sun Tzu. What is the principle that is guiding this fight? It can't just be resistance and upset. You know, it has to be some active seizing on some larger strategy and plan. And now by he, I mean President Trump, is threatening the Texas Democrats and basically saying, look at Congresswoman LaMonica, which we were talking about last week. You see what I did to her? She's a federal person. I will surely have them do that to you at the state level. And what is the plan in response?
Yep. And I get it. I'm not naive here, neither are you. I get it in terms of making a statement, drawing media attention to the issue. So in that regard, you know, symbolically, I get it. But substantively, at some point, you got to deal with this.
Yeah, right. Yeah. And it's the John Lewis of it all. We always saw John Lewis stand on business.
That's it.
We didn't see him disappear on business. Yeah. And while on one level, this stopgap of delay, and then give some media attention, like you were just saying, might be something. But when you return, I hope you went on a retreat about strategy.
Yeah.
You know, when y'all are coming back, y'all just needed like a couple of days to calibrate a unified strategy.
Yeah.
But history has been a great teacher. That is usually not what the time was spent doing.
Yeah. I haven't. If they have that, they haven't unveiled it yet.
Right. So, maybe they in Sedona getting it together.
Yeah. All I know is avoidance is not a strategy.
Absolutely not.
At some point, you got to pay the piper.
That's right.
I digress for now. Just getting started with Marcus Anthony Hunter on Tavis Smiley.
Hope, agency, dignity. This is Tavis Smiley.
Can you dig it? Come on!
Make a move into a home of your own. With City National Bank's Ladder Up Home Loan Grant, you could receive up to $20,000 that you never need to pay back. Use it toward your down payment, save on closing costs, or to buy down your mortgage rate. Find out more at cnb.com/ladderuphome. City National, here for every stage of the journey. Property must be in a qualifying market in California, New York, or New Jersey. Additional terms and conditions apply. Not all applicants will qualify. Terms are subject to change without notice. City National Bank is an equal housing lender. Member FDIC. NMLS number 536994.
This is the story of the one. As a lineman, he does whatever it takes to keep the power on in his community. And he wants a partner like Grainger who does the same. Grainger offers the professional-grade products he needs, from voltage detectors to harnesses to hard hats, plus fast, dependable delivery, so he can rise to every challenge. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Oh no, stomach issues again?
Stomach issues?
Who are you?
Your pancreas. I could be the real reason for your diarrhea, gas, bloating, stomach pain, or loose oily stools.
I thought it was my stomach.
People often do, but any of these symptoms could mean having a condition called exocrine pancreatic insufficiency, or EPI. With EPI, the pancreas doesn't release enough enzymes to break down food, but EPI is manageable. Use the symptom checker on identifyepi.com and speak with your doctor. That's identifyepi.com. Sponsored by AbbVie.
Hey, it's Matt, your leaf filter trusted pro. Gutters are an often neglected part of the home. They're also one of the most important. Clogged, overflowing gutters can cause serious problems like foundation damage or basement flooding, which can cost thousands of dollars to fix. Let's face it, cleaning gutters yourself is not only a hassle, it can be dangerous. But when you get Leaf Filter, you'll never have to worry about cleaning clogged gutters again. Get started today by visiting leaffilter.com/deal to schedule your free inspection. If you decide to move forward, we'll professionally clean, realign, and seal your gutters before installing our patented stainless steel micro mesh system. Leaf Filter keeps out everything but the water. And it's backed by a lifetime transferable no clogs warranty. So you're protected for good. We're in your neighborhood and ready to help. Visit Leaf Filter today for a free inspection and estimate, and you could save up to 30%. Visit leaffilter.com/deal. That's leaffilter.com/deal.
Febreze.
Fabric Talk. Hello, my love. I am your living room carpet. I see everything. I feel everything. After a while, I smell like everything, including Sir Pickles, who you snuggle with while binging that dating show you can't stop watching. So, how about we freshen things up with Febreze Fabric Spray? Oh, and a big spray for my pals, couch and ottoman. Ah, yes, refreshing. Breathe happy, Febreze. La 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 la.
More honesty than you can handle. More empowerment than you can imagine. You're tuned in to Tavis Smiley.
Tavis Smiley and Marcus Anthony Hunter of UCLA, best-selling author and just brilliant, again, public intellectual who's ripping. You've been pretty busy this summer, moving around the country.
I have.
Every time I talk to you somewhere, you're in D.C., down south.
Right.
Let me go there for a quick second here. Yeah. You've been busy because this is a season, I think, where people, of course, have to be engaged. Mm-hmm. Give me a sense of what you've been doing all summer long, because it's almost time for school again.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
I took a road trip, or a roadcation, as I tried to call it, where I drove from LA all the way to DC, in some cases visiting communities that help contribute to my work, like Radical Reparations and Chocolate Cities and other books, to see how they're doing. And then we also went and saw my father-in-law over in Alabama, in Tuscaloosa. Shout out to T-Town, Roll Tide, and really just as you probably know about me, I also like to see how the rest of America is giving it up. You know, what else is happening? How are things jiving across the country? And it's really interesting, some of the similarities and differences that you see. So I was really shocked and astonished by how more similar Arizona was to California than it was to Texas.
More similar.
Yeah, even though we think about it as pretty red. But then at the same time, you know, as soon as I got back, there's a clip that was going around about a couple of like white dudes who were like vomiting great racism at like the city hall meeting or the city council meeting in California, in LA. And so it's like, that's when I say like California. I mean, California invented no race-based, you know, policy in education, and everybody else is doing it. We tend to think about it as blue, but it's red in ways that you can see. And then other places are blue in ways that you don't see. So when you go inside of Texas, there is this way, especially with a lot of the outmigration from California to Texas, that there is a future where it is purple, you know. And just on to the Voting Rights Act portion of what we talk about, what's also really fascinating is I have a good friend, a sister in spirit, who moved out to Austin recently, right before the election, the presidential election. She's been voting her whole life in LA, and she took her daughter, who can vote for the first time, and she was like, I was so afraid when I was voting. And people I didn't even know, and I heard about this on TV, but their voter intimidation is real. She's like, there were helicopters that were swarming around where black people vote in Austin. There were people who were far enough that they're supposed to be legally, but close enough where you can hear them say, yeah, we know who you're going to vote for. Oh, you trying to make that choice? Oh, okay. We all got choices. And so she was like, I almost was scared to go and take my vote. And I think when people hear about voting rights and all of these other things, we want to think about it as a history and not as a temporal reality where people are experiencing. Now we're talking about a young black woman, shout out to Melinda, from Inglewood, okay? She is built tough, Ford tough, and she was afraid from all of the intimidation tactics. She had never seen it before. So that's what we're seeing also in Texas at the same time.
What's crazy about that, too, if you know anything about Texas, as I do, Austin is an outlier.
Absolutely.
When you think about politically. And it's always fascinating for me. I've been there so many times over the years. They have a huge Texas book festival that I've been at more times than I can count. One of the best book festivals in the country, quite frankly. It's always in Austin, and it's on the grounds of the state capitol. So I've been there, again, multiple times. But Austin politically is an outlier in terms of how it votes versus the rest of the state, which is fascinating because it is the state capitol.
Right.
But politically, it's a different kind of outlier. I digress on that point for now. Since you mentioned the Voting Rights Act, let me sort of pivot to that for a second here. We have a number of conversations today because today, of course, is the 60th anniversary. This week, 60 years since the passage of the Voting Rights Act. And to your powerful and brilliant point, we tend to think of that as a historical accomplishment. Before I talk about the real-time implications and complications, frankly, of the Voting Rights Act, historically, how do you process, you teach this stuff at UCLA every day, how do you process that we have found ourselves 60 years after the passage of this seminal piece of legislation?
Yeah, that we are 60 years later, and we're watching it be both a bedrock because it helps people understand the power of the vote and the history that it it represents of how we got it was hard fought, and also a target where there are active attempts to continue to suppress votes, to use people's convicted felonies after they serve their time to eliminate them from polls, from voting ballots and rolls. And so we see that as an active issue. And what's really crazy about it is that it continues to be a partisan issue, meaning that first of all our representatives are voters. So when they're talking about voting and creating voting suppression, it should really alarm also our elected officials. They vote as well, oftentimes for themselves in their own elections. And the fact that we can't have an open and honest conversation about it without people trying to make it like we're just making it a racialized conversation, or we're just making it a gendered or poverty-based conversation. It's a conversation about democracy. And if you can't vote, you don't have a voice. And if you don't have a voice, then it really is an autocracy. It really is some kind of dictatorship, and that's not how it's supposed to work. And so the Voting Rights Act, I think, one, which is fascinating at the Supreme Court level, is that it's one of the few Supreme Court times where it has taken on the Congress. So they have been invalidating aspects of the Voting Rights Act. At the same time, the John Lewis Voting Rights Act has been languishing for many years now, originally called the Voting Rights Act, now languishing as the John Lewis Voting Rights Act. And so the question starts to be, one, where is that in the conversation? We have midterm elections coming up, which is partly why this conversation is going at such a heightened frequency, because they know that there's blowback from all of the, one, you won half the country as the president. The Republicans won half the country popularly. Second, that there are people who are actively upset about these raids, about destroying the Department of Education, about all of these different things that have happened in the last 6 months, that the midterm is your turn to speak back, use your voice and say, not on my watch, or maybe these should be my representatives. And all of this conversation about mapping and everything is trying to preclude and prevent your ability to speak back to the year and a half that you did not vote for.
Yeah. What I'm about to say, I warn you, may sound like heresy to you. In another context, it may even be treasonous to say this. I'm going to say it anyway. And I think you'll understand why I'm asking. I'm warning you and I'm warning the audience. I'm about to swing way out here. So if you're driving, keep both hands on keep both hands on the steering wheel, because Tavis is about to flip out for a second. 60 years after the Voting Rights Act, does voting matter? Just pause for a second. Does voting matter? Now, because I'm good at playing devil's advocate, as are you, we could do this for the next hour if we wanted to, and I could light you up with a bunch of reasons in argumentation why one could advance the notion that voting no longer matters in this experiment in democracy. I would simply start with this, and I could run the list. I won't, because I'm talking to Marcus Anthony Hunter, who gets where I'm going here. But if there are a handful of red states, you know where I'm going, right? And a handful of people, comparatively speaking, in those red states, those swing states rather, a handful of swing states. The handful of swing states, which happen to be red, and there are a handful of people in those swing states who ultimately decide who gets elected president, about 150,000, as I recall this time around, between, that if Kamala had swung that in those states, she'd be president today. 150,000 people ain't even a whole city, and yet you're about to tell me that my vote counts, that it really matters. And I live in California. So the election tends to be called before our polls close sometimes. And you're going to tell me anyway, Marcus, that voting matters?
Well, the thing about voting, and I'm going to take it into a deep place, it's not yet Sunday, but we're going to make it a Sunday.
Let's go.
Is that voting is a vibration. And if we think about what democracy is, it was imagined and pulled from the spirit space to put into the human space so that we might have a better version of the world. So when you think about that, it's not just about the kind of material, physical reality of putting in a piece of paper, turning it in, it counting or not. When we think about what Black people in the country have endured, going from property to person, that the vote that we make is already imbued with the ancestral mandate that we are here, that we count, for ourselves. What y'all do with our paperwork once we turn it in, that's your karma. But we have a duty to our ancestors to make sure that we show up and do the process, because ultimately it's still a work in progress. This is why all of these changes are always happening. I think the other thing that's really important about all of the vote, when we think about most of America is filled with former immigrants. Most of the folks are what they call boat people. They arrive by boat. And so if you're all participating in constructing this thing you're calling the United States of America, and you decide that you can opt out over and over and over again, this is why you look up and you go, it isn't including me. And on top of that, this is why the Black struggle has been to make up for the years that we were not able to vote. And I think as Black people listening, I want us to do ourselves a kindness to say part of what we've been up against is that for decades, almost centuries, we were not allowed to vote. Black women were not allowed to participate in the process until the 20th century. So that means that we are behind in terms of our ability to enfranchise ourselves in the system. This is why then the system doesn't reflect our demands and requests. It has 60 years to prevent and create infrastructure around our ability to participate in change. Yet and still, when the presidential election comes, we see that the percentage of Black people voting for that party always seems to matter. If we're under a number, it flips the race. If we're over the number, Joe Biden is president. That's what we see. Lastly but not least, even in the red state dynamic, I would be remiss if I didn't give a shout out to the glorious, glorious descendants and survivors of Tulsa in Oklahoma. They elected Monroe Nichols, the first Black mayor of Tulsa, in its 100+ year history in a red state. They are in a red state where they have medicalized marijuana and passed it in Oklahoma. You have Shamari Mills out of the southern part of Alabama, who has been elected to Congress in a red state where I always call her Governor K. She's running it, but she isn't similar with him. So I also think we have to think about the levels to this, because there's always levels. And at certain levels, your vote may not show up, but at oftentimes local levels, you will see it show up.
Yep. So for the record, there's nothing Marcus Anthony Hunter just said that I do not agree with. As we said in the Black church, amen, amen, amen to all that. My job here oftentimes is to play devil's advocate.
Ask them questions.
Yeah, ask the questions, yeah. But I do understand with all that Marcus just said, I do understand the longer I live, why people are choosing, Black folk in particular, choosing to opt out. I don't support it. I don't agree with it, but I'm trying to understand why they're opting out. And the bottom line is simply this. This system is dysfunctional. It is broken. We are on the precipice of, falling off the cliff. And if every election we tell people this is the most important election of your life.
Right.
The two most important days in your life are Judgment Day and Election Day. I can do this all day long. I've heard these one-liners all of my career, right? And then you vote and nothing changes.
Right.
In part because we live in a gerrymandered America.
Right.
And so it's hard, to your point, to flip seats.
Yeah.
That's why it becomes a story. I said the other day to some students that news, by definition, is an aberration. We don't report that the sun came out today.
Right.
But if it don't show up for 3 or 4 days.
Yes. Where is it?
Exactly. Where is the sun? News is an aberration. So the reason why when these districts flip, it becomes a huge story. And it shouldn't be. It ought to be a lot more common.
Right.
It becomes a huge story because we don't flip seats. Because America is such a gerrymandered republic that nothing ever changes.
Right.
But you keep telling me every election that if I vote, it's going to change something.
Right.
And my personal situation never changes.
And I would echo what you're saying on that. I do think going forward, it is important for people to stop using that language of this is the most important election of your life, to always make it like it's life or death, which it is for some people.
It's Armageddon every time.
But yes, that is not that is negative fuel source for something.
Right.
I will also say it's when you say America's gerrymander, I would offer it as an overlap to all of our institutions in the sense that on some level voting is like tithing. But you could pay your tithes and it don't mean that the pastor stops being homophobic. You'd be like, where's these tithes going? What are they doing? Because your tithe is not to him. Your tithe is not to the person in the pulpit. Your tithe is to a divine connection and you fulfilling your duty there. And I think that's what we have to get back to. Certain kind of spiritual fundaments that you vote as an expression of your being present and accounted for in this time, in these days. You put your say in there, whether or not the outcome is what you said. You're not whole. And I also want people to understand opting out produces negative karma. Yep. Again, I said we're going to Sunday and it's only Wednesday.
It's only Wednesday, yeah. And I would make a distinction as you sort of did earlier. Tip O'Neill was right. All politics is local. So my critique is far less of local elections than it is of the federal elections. Right. The federal stuff is just rigged in a variety of ways. Rigged because it is gerrymandered, not rigged because they rigged the machines, as Donald Trump suggested. The big steal, I'm not going there. Right. But rigged in the sense that the districts, that's why we're talking about redistricting, right? Because the districts are drawn in a certain way. And so the map is so gerrymandered that your vote may not make a difference in a particular area. And again, my point simply in this chair every day is to try to understand. I can't respond to somebody who's telling me why they're opting out if I don't understand why they're opting out. So I'm just trying to hear with both ears why it is that people, again, specifically black people, feel that this system is so dysfunctional that their vote doesn't make a difference. And that's a conversation we ought to be having, and we are having it on the 60th anniversary of the Voting Rights Act. You're listening to Marcus Anthony Hunter, and I'm glad about it on Tavis Smiley.
What's your quarrel with the world? You're listening to Tavis Smiley.
I'm Bree Wood with BIN News Now. Whooping cough cases are rising as kids head back to school. Dr. Dave Weber of the University of North Carolina Medical Center says parents should vaccinate a few weeks before school starts.
My hospital, we had no cases in 2023, 13 in 2024, and already this year we've had 27.
CDC data shows a six-fold increase in 2024, with many children missing key vaccines. St. Louis is ending its minority and women-owned business goals for construction contracts. Mayor Kara Spencer says new federal rules ban promoting diversity, equity, and inclusion. And Lawrence Taylor says he doesn't know why he was picked for President Trump's Youth Fitness Council. The ex-NFL star, a registered sex offender, joined the White House event, sparking backlash over his past and President Trump's decision to include him. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Spending 2 hours staring at the back of someone's bumper isn't the best way to end your day. So Jack in the Box is giving you a bonus with their new Bonus Jack Combo. Fries, a drink, and a burger with your choice of 1, 2, or 3 patties, starting at just $4.49. Get so much more.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The LA Sparks are playing like one of the best teams in the WNBA. They beat the Indiana Fever Tuesday night 100-91 for their 7th win in the last 8 games. Kelsey Plume had 25 points and 11 assists. Rakia Jackson also dropped 25 points. The Sparks are now just 2 games below 500 at 13-15. On July 3rd, they were 5-13 and showing no signs of being a playoff contender. The Sparks are at home Thursday night against the Connecticut Sun. The Dodgers beat St. Louis 12-6. Max Muncy and Teoscar Hernandez each had 4 RBIs. The Angels lost to Tampa Bay 7-3. Tampa Bay scored all 7 of their runs in the 4th inning. And oldie but goodie is coming back to the Chargers. Wide receiver Keenan Allen, who played his first 11 seasons with the Chargers, re-signed with the team for a 1-year deal. The 33-year-old Allen played last season with the Chicago Bears. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA Talk 1580. I'm Dominique DePrima from the show First Things First, weekday mornings from 6 to 9. Join me tomorrow for a conversation in honor of South LA's Black Pride celebration this Saturday, the African American LGBTQ plus experience. And we'll have headlines, hot topics, plus your phone calls. It's only on KBLA Talk 1580.
Paid for by government.com. Did you know? The United States Mint has issued a new Morgan silver dollar coin in proof condition for the first time. Not only that, they are also minted in 99.9% pure silver for the first time ever in history. Coin experts are calling this an amazing opportunity for anyone that knows the enduring popularity of Morgans. But you must hurry. Only 400,000 of these legal tender silver dollars were issued. These first ever Morgan silver dollars are brand new with stunning mirror-like finish, minted by the iconic San Francisco Mint. Call now and you're guaranteed a new first ever 99.9% pure silver proof Morgan dollar. To learn more, call 1-800-973-9717. If you order now, you will receive a free coin collector bonus pack, a $25 value, free with every order. Call 1-800-973-9717 now to secure your new Morgan silver dollars before they are gone. That's 1-800-973-9717.
We've got a lot to talk about.
Hi, I'm Zoe Williams, a.k.a. the Voice of Reason, encouraging you to join me weekdays from 7 to 9 p.m. for the world's most intriguing relationship radio roundtable. Every night, I facilitate and encourage our loyal listeners to participate in the most engaging relationship discussions you'll hear anywhere. So make it a point to rendezvous with me, Zoe Williams, the Voice of Reason, Monday through Friday, 7 to 9 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Trust me, your relationships will never be the same. The VOR is on fire tonight.
Unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got your black.
Cashback is not available on gas in New Jersey and Wisconsin.
Susan, I'm sorry I'm late. Traffic is terrible.
It sure is. But on top of that, gas prices have been skyrocketing. I can't believe how expensive gas has gotten recently.
Prices at the pump are up, but I never pay full price for gas anymore. I just use the free Upside app that pays you cash back for every gallon of gas you buy.
Wait a minute. Are you saying you actually get paid cash when you buy gas with the Upside app?
Yes, I get real cash back every time I buy gas.
And does that actually add up to anything?
I've made around $200.
Wow, that's serious extra cash. I'm downloading the free Upside app now.
Download the free Upside app to earn real cash back every time you buy gas. Use promo code GOLD for an extra 25 cents per gallon cash back on your first fill-up. You can cash out anytime right to your bank account, to PayPal, or an e-gift card for Amazon and other brands. Just download the free Upside app and use promo code GOLD for a 25 cents per gallon bonus on your first tank. That's code GOLD for 25 cents per gallon cash back on your first fill-up.
Helping to make you the most knowledgeable person in your circle of friends. This is Tavis Smiley.
Tavis Smiley and Marcus Anthony Hunter out of UCLA, professor of African American Studies, author, and delighted to have him in studio with us, talking about all kinds of things in this hour, including, of course, the 60th anniversary of the Voting Rights Act. We are joined in this conversation now by Rodericka Applewhaite, former director of Black Media for Biden-Harris, and now VP of Media Relations at Focal Point Strategy Group. I'm thinking, Rodericka, of that. Speaking of the Voting Rights Act, Dr. King, free at last. Thank God Almighty. I'm free. I'm free at last. Do you feel freed now that you're out the White House?
I will not confirm or deny that.
You better do that, sister.
How have you been though since leaving the White House?
It has been good. I've been engaging in a lot of self-care, but the fight continues, and so I'm excited to be doing the work that I do with at Focal Point Strategy Group to help a lot of left-leaning organizations and causes now push back against the White House that I just came from. So it's definitely been an interesting contrast.
Yeah, there are a couple of things I want to talk to you and Marcus about. Let me start with you, sure, Rodericka, on this, and I'm not putting you on the spot. It's a legitimate conversation, as I'm sure we'll all agree, but I do want to get your take on it, having been on the inside and now on the outside. So there's been a lot of conversation since Kamala Harris lost this election about what that $1 billion was spent on. They raised $1 billion. They spent $1 billion. When all was said and done, people are still gobsmacked by the fact that they were in debt. They raised $1 billion and were still in debt and lost the race. Now, I raise that because there's been, again, a lot of conversation about what that money was spent on. And what we now know, and these stories keep developing every other day, about the amount of money that was spent on consultants. That's where that money went. It went to consultants. So you are now a part of the consultant class. I'm not trying to obviously demonize or diss you, but I'm raising this question about, what Democrats say. How do they respond to these questions that everyday people are having? Every other minute you're getting a text to your phone. Can you chip in? I got sick of that phrase, chip in. Give me something else at least. But I got tired of being asked to chip in this and chip in that and chip in here and chip in there. And we chipped in to the tune of over $1 billion. And now we know that money went to consultants. I mean, I'm ain't going to call his name, but y'all saw the news story. $8 million to one of Joe Biden's best friends in this camp. $8 million to one person? And that's just one guy. So I'm not raising the name because I'm not trying to beat up on him. But what say you, Rodericka, about all this money that was raised and how Democrats have to answer to contributors about why and how so much of this money was spent? We also saw Hunter Biden go off. He went off. He started naming names and putting figures out there as to who made what. It's embarrassing, Rodericka.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, for one, I will say, even though I am in the consultant class these days, I do not make $1 million. I would not be on this call. I would be on a yacht. But I mean, Tavis, you make a really good point. I mean, there is a lot of voter fatigue right now, and there's also so much kind of mysticism and opaqueness that surrounds the campaign enterprise. And so I think one of those things, I can fully understand why voters are frustrated with that. I certainly have sent a lot of those texts to spam asking me to chip in $3 as well. But I will say for the vice president's campaign, as far as that's concerned, presidential campaigns are very expensive undertaking, especially when you have just 107 days to turn something around. And so at that point, all of the TV space that you could buy you're buying that at premium rates because you weren't buying it out a year ago when it was on discount. You're trying to hire staff very quickly. You're moving people across states. You're trying to print, campaign lit and all of those things and all with union print shops. And because of that, they have to charge higher prices because, these are typically things that are planned months in advance.
Right.
And so having to do all of that, you're pretty much, it is the equivalent of, I mean, I went to the Beyonce concert. I was short on time to buy outfits, so I had to pay for everything on for express rates, and so that's pretty much what Kamala was doing on a mass scale. And so that is kind of where that comes from. However, to your original question, there is certainly a class of consultants that have made a lot of money, centralized in kind of that top 1% of consultants, if you will. And, I think that's something that the party is reckoning right now with, what is actually a good investment and how are we supposed to maintain the trust of the people that we need to vote for us if we're not showing where those investments are going and really helping people understand, why these costs are justified. And so that does make it difficult.
Marcus, I don't know about you, but I heard Rodericka say she don't make $1 million. Then I heard her say she went to Beyonce concert and bought a new outfit and went to dinner. So, I'm going to leave that right where it is. The other issue I want to raise, though, Marcus, speaking of Democrats, so Reverend Barber was on this program the other day.
Shout out to him.
Yeah, I love him. He was on the program the other day. And he just sort of put it out there. He was telling us that he was in a meeting with Pete Buttigieg, speaking of the Biden-Harris team. And Pete confessed to Reverend Barber that the consultancy class tells Democrats in the establishment, in the administration, candidates, not to use the word poor, not to talk about poverty. Talk about the working class, talk about the middle class. We don't talk about poverty. We don't talk about the poor. It doesn't test well. Now, what Barber raised that point because the flip side of that is their polling, Barber's polling and their research suggests that poor people don't engage because they don't hear themselves addressed. They don't see themselves in the conversation. But what do you make of a consultancy class that's telling Democratic candidates and establishment people to not talk about poverty, to not talk about the poor? And obviously, Pete Buttigieg wasn't lying because all they ever talk about is the working class and the middle class.
in the words of the current president, they're losers.
Yeah.
You know, because now I just hope that Mayor Pete and others look back at that and go, that was a losing strategy. And I think that's a form of reparations for the Poor People's Campaign, because they've been having their own polling. It isn't just Reverend Barber going out there putting his thumb in the sky and saying, yeah, people who are in poverty want to hear it. They're out there in the streets, meeting with people, talking with people, taking polls. And part of what you're up against is that despite being in the street, despite being the person in the community, you're taken as second tier to the consultants who are maybe using a lot of data and, you know, robocalling and other things, but they're not actually with the people on the street where the energy actually is. The energy is in people, not in robocalls. And of course, people want to hear themselves be a part of a conversation, because the other thing is that when the Republican Party became the party of corporations and businesses, that already means that poor people are not listening for that. But then Trump came with language that sounded pretty populist over in the business party. So then you see a flock toward the side that is actually not in your best interest, because at least you hear some version of your experience being discussed.
When we come forward, I want to ask Rodericka, since she mentioned earlier that she's giving advice to left organizations these days on the outside. And again, I celebrate the fact that she's been on the inside and the outside. She's director of black media inside the White House with Biden and Harris, and now she's offering advice to left organizations on the outside. I am curious, to the extent she can, without violating confidences, I'm curious to know what she's telling these left organizations right about now. I know what I'd be telling them right now, but I'm curious as to what she's saying to these organizations right now about how to navigate this moment as we move toward the midterms. We'll get Rodericka's response to that when we come forward on Tavis Smiley.
Interrogating and unpacking. That's what we do around here. You're listening to Tavis Smiley.
We asked seniors how to prevent Medicare scams.
My best advice, if you get a phone call, do not talk to the person. These people are well trained. Don't talk to them.
They don't know me. They're just trying to scam me.
Don't be fooled. Hang up. Just hang up.
Never give out your Medicare number.
They're going to get your number to put in a false claim.
If I get a call from someone, I don't pick up the phone. And should I pick up the phone and they ask for information, then I hang up.
How do you detect Medicare fraud?
Just like I check my credit card statements, I check my Medicare statements monthly.
Scammers can get a hold of your number, order medical devices through your account, and you're not even going to know about it if you don't look at your statement.
Check your statement every month.
If you get your statement and you see something that you know you did not have done, you report it.
Call your Senior Medicare Patrol.
To report Medicare fraud, call the Senior Medicare Patrol at 855-613-7080.
Is reviewing life insurance on your to-do list? Now's the perfect time to add it. A friend recently told me that securing life insurance sooner rather than later can help you lock in lower rates for years to come. So I bumped this up on my list and got it done. I called SelectQuote and couldn't believe how easy and affordable life insurance is. I'm 40 and got a $500,000 policy for $16 a month. My husband's also 40. And his $500,000 policy was only $18 a month. Plus, with SelectQuote's same-day coverage, there was no medical exam required, and we were covered by the time we hung up. Knowing I have this checked off my list feels amazing, but the peace of mind knowing my family is protected feels even better.
Call SelectQuote at 1-800-729-7070. That's 1-800-729-7070. Or go to SelectQuote.com to get your free quote today. That's 1-800-729-7070. Details on example rate at SelectQuote.com.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580 is committed to self-care and community well-being. Walk Good LA was formed in June 2020, inspired by the Black Lives Matter movement and the beginning stages of the COVID-19 pandemic. What began as a few minutes of breath work and yoga meditation before protests against police brutality turned into a safe space for the community to heal in hard times. The immensely positive response from the community transformed the momentum into a movement. Today, Walk Good LA is a black and brown-led community wellness organization based in Los Angeles. They provide spaces for healing through community yoga classes, guided meditations, hikes, run clubs, and other activations throughout Los Angeles that attract hundreds of members weekly. With the help of Propel and Michael B. Jordan, they now have a yoga and wellness studio in Los Angeles called the Walk Good Yard. To join their mailing list and connect with healing spaces, please visit walkgoodla.org. That's walkgoodla.org. Or find them on Instagram at walkgoodla. This is a community call to action, a community call to healing from KBLA Talk 1580.
Made fresh daily in the Mert Park, Los Angeles, California. You're listening to Tavis Smiley.
Tavis Smiley and Rodericka Applewhaite and Marcus Anthony Hunter. Before I get back to them, some breaking news, as there always seems to be during this show, given the time that I'm on. Texas state lawmakers in Illinois have been evacuated from their hotel after a bomb threat. We are told that police have searched the hotel. No device has been found. But that's where we are now. We were talking earlier about these Texas state lawmakers, these Democrats, and some in New York, some in Illinois, but those who are in Illinois who were seen just a day or so ago with J.B. Pritzker, the governor, had a big press conference. They had a press conference scheduled today with Dick Durbin in Illinois, in Chicago. That press conference has now been canceled, I'm told. But Texas state lawmakers in Illinois have been, in Illinois, say that fast 3 times, in Illinois, have been evacuated from the hotel after a bomb threat. But at the moment, at least, no bomb has been found. This conversation is coming full circle. I want to go to Rodericka in a second here about that question I posed a moment ago. But Marcus and I were talking during the break here a moment ago about all the ways in which Democrats continue to engage, and I love Democrats. I am one. But we continue to engage in avoidance. We were talking earlier about these Democrats leaving the state. You can avoid this, and make a big news story out of it, but at some point you got to go home. Again, elections have consequences. You got to deal with this. You got to fight it, and you got to be strategic about it. So they're trying to avoid this by leaving the state. They want to avoid talking about poor people. They want to avoid, the list is long. They want to avoid talking about reparations. They want to avoid. Avoidance is just not a winning strategy, Marcus.
Oh, absolutely not. I think it not only is it not a winning strategy, it definitely didn't win. And on top of that, I think ultimately what folks are looking for is a unified resistance. What is happening when the empire strikes back? How are you dealing with that? And there's a lot of people in motion, but not necessarily a coordinated, unified effort.
Yeah. Rodericka, to the question I posed a few moments ago that I want to get to you, what are you saying to groups on the left these days? I mean, obviously you're in the media space, and I'm asking that question specifically because obviously I am too, and I'm curious as to the kind of advice that groups are getting about how they navigate themselves media-wise in a moment such as this.
Yeah, I mean, something that we're working with those groups on every day is really just making sure that they are speaking in plain English, and remembering the fact that they are not talking to their audience is not, nor they should be, people who are as informed. I mean, that's the way to spread your news and spread your message, is to make sure that you're reaching people who normally would not engage with that. And so just trying to cut the jargon, anything that doesn't really just make plain sense. Because I think when you break down these issues, the polling reflects that if you break them down without using kind of the more kind of AP buzzwords, it actually is a winning message for Democrats if they can communicate themselves clearly and effectively. So that's something that we work with our clients on every day.
Yep. I keep reading these polls, though. We talked about one a couple of days ago, Rodericka, these polls that suggest that Democrats, I'm talking about Democratic voters writ large, are not happy with the way the party's showing up right about now.
Yeah, and I think a lot of that is a lot of layover disenfranchisement and disillusionment with how the 2024 presidential election went. I mean, from a lot of people, my mom is always talking my head off about it every day. She's like, I don't understand how Trump got reelected. But I mean, I think that's what happens when you are not seeing a unified message from the Democratic Party. And I think we do unfortunately give way to a lot of infighting that makes us look pretty disorganized to your average average voter. And so I think that's something that I think the party's a lot more aware of this time, which is encouraging heading into midterms next year. But yeah, I mean, we still need to continue to work on tightening our message and making sure we are showing a unified front, because, Republicans they'll certainly chirp at each other online, but at the end of the day, they do hold the line. And so that's something that I hope my party continues to work towards.
If you're paying attention, and I have a really, really, really smart audience, I know they are paying attention. In the last 5 minutes, both Marcus Anthony Hunter and Rodericka Applewhaite have used the word united. And so when we come forward in our remaining moments with both of them, I want to ask them put both of them on the spot. What does a unified message, I said united, I meant unified. That's the way they use unified. What does a unified message sound like right about now? You're listening to Tavis Smiley.
For all the freedom-loving folk, this is Tavis Smiley.
I feel like freedom.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. LA County's new Justice Care and Opportunities Department, or JCOD, is here to support justice-involved individuals and their families. The JCOD Support Center is now taking calls at 1-833-LACJCOD. That's 1-833-522-5263. Available 7 days a week from 6 a.m. to 11 p.m., the Support Center is your one-stop shop for re-entry issues and court support. They offer court reminders, connections to local services, transportation assistance for housing, court appearances, and childcare. The JCOD hotline provides personalized help to connect you with services that you need. And don't forget to check out justiceconnect.org for more information. Remember, it's free and available every day at 1-833-522-5263. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
If you're like me, 60 and retired, making ends meet, especially here at the supermarket and drugstore, is tough. I'm so blessed to have found BenefitsCheckup.org. It's a free and confidential website from the National Council on Aging that connected me to $1,200 a year in programs that help pay for food, medicine, utilities, and more. Maybe it can help you. BenefitsCheckup.org.
You know where you want to go in life, and City National Bank can help. City National knows the dedication it takes to build your vision for the future into a reality, and our team is here for you. We have a wide range of options to help, from personal savings accounts to interest-bearing money market savings accounts and more, all designed to help you get where you want to go. City National, here for every stage of the journey. Learn more at cnb.com. City National Bank is a subsidiary of Royal Bank of Canada. Member FDIC.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm.
Hi, I'm Chuck McDowell, the timeshare cancellation guy. In 2011, I founded Wesley Financial Group with one goal in mind: to help honest folks out of their timeshares permanently. Today, I run Wesley with my two sons, a real family business, treating every client and every employee like we'd want our own family treated. That philosophy has helped us grow into the largest, most trusted timeshare cancellation company in the United States. Fortune magazine even recognized us as one of the best places to work. Why? Because we genuinely care. In fact, some of our former clients were so moved by their experience working with us, they joined our team so they could help others to timeshare freedom. If you're stuck in a timeshare, give us a call. Let our family help your family.
Call Wesley now for your free timeshare exit kit. 800-687-7979. That's 800-687-7979. 800-687-7979.
Let's get back to more of this rich dialogue with Tavis Smiley.
Tavis Smiley and Rodericka Applewhaite and Marcus Anthony Hunter. Okay, you both used the word unified. What does a unified message sound like these days, Rodericka?
Yeah, I'm glad you asked that before the break, so I had some time to think about it. I think it's less about a unified front, as far as like every Democrat running needs to be saying the same exact thing. Mm-hmm. But I think just a unified strategy of how we're showing up for voters. Something that continues to resonate is having people run in areas that where their politics actually match their electorate, where they can actually relate to their electorate and get in front of people and listen to what they're saying rather than talking at them. I think that is something that the Democratic Party certainly has struggled with in the past, really trying to, make sure their messaging is broken down and understandable. And so I think that's something that we're seeing in some pretty interesting test cases with candidates that are running right now. There's two I want to shout out. Rob Sand, who's running for governor of Iowa. He is currently crisscrossing the state and had a tweet yesterday about how he was in Elston, Iowa, with a turnout that was double the size of the population. And so, I think just having a message that is very clear and resonating with people and coming to them and really making sure you're meeting them where they are is so important. The next candidate that I want to shout out with that is Mallory McMorrow, who's running for U.S. Senate in Michigan, who is also doing the same thing and really making sure she's meeting with people, listening to what they're saying and showing them that, that politics can and should be as representative as we say it is, to where people can trust, really establish trust in the people that they are sending to governor's mansions and to the White House, to the White House and to Washington.
Yep, got 90 seconds left. It's all yours, Marcus.
Freedom, justice, and opportunity for all. Period.
Yeah. I like that. Freedom, just opportunity for all. It's hard to imagine, though, how Democrats come forth with a unified message right about now, when the party itself is not unified. You got James Carville inviting progressives to leave the party. You've got, look at the race in New York City. That Mondami race has just messed everybody up because the establishment initially went with Andrew, and that didn't quite work out. He's still in the race. So I'm trying to figure out how we get to a unified message when the party itself is still not so unified.
Yeah, it's one of those things where what they say, the chaff from the wheat. So maybe we're on the threshing floor if we look at it that way. That after this threshing floor process, maybe we'll look up 6 months from now and it'll look like there's a new bench or some sort of leadership that can then anchor us going forward.
From your mouth to God's ears. Marcus Anthony Hunter, professor at UCLA, African American Studies, author, and Rodericka Applewhaite, the former director of Black Media for the Biden-Harris team and now VP of Media Relations at Focal Point Strategy Group. Thank you both. Rodericka, have a great rest of your day.
Thank you. You too.
Good to have you on. And Marcus, I'll talk to you soon.
You already know.
More of Tavis Smiley when we come forward.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Bree Wood with BIN News Now. Whooping cough cases are rising as kids head back to school. Dr. Dave Weber of the University of North Carolina Medical Center says parents should vaccinate